I look crazy right now. Let me actually, no, I look crazy right now. But Grundle, Hunter, Terry, thank you guys for the love and support. It's all good. To be honest with you, I do not feel like reading right now because it's 3 a.m. But I've got to force myself because I haven't been reading for the past 2 days because I've just been caught up in my own bullcrap that I prioritized that over reading. Like, for example, this previous morning that when I woke up, I had the opportunity to read, but I didn't take the opportunity because I gave in to the dopamine of watching a random YouTube video, that quick dopamine. But I guess I redeemed myself by going on a run, on a 13-mile run, which was crazy. I feel like I felt myself. I feel like I tried. I gave it my best, but I'm gonna try again. I'm gonna go on the run. I'm gonna go on the run again. I don't think I'm gonna go tomorrow because gotta let the body recover. I don't want to get any crazy. I don't want to get injured before my soccer season starts. So maybe I might run like light. I don't want to run anything too crazy. So tomorrow it might be like a light run, nothing too crazy. But yeah, I don't feel like reading, so I'm gonna force myself to read because I don't feel like doing it just to work on my mental, because it's all mental at the end of the day. All right. Because I don't feel like reading. And it's 3:11 a.m. right now. We are going to make it 35 minutes. Let's go. Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday in Las Vegas, they prepared for the wedding, watched Einstein playing enthusiastically with other campers' dogs, and took side trips to Charleston Peak and Lake Mead. In the evenings, Nora and Travis left Einstein with his books while they went to stage shows. Travis felt guilty about leaving the retriever alone, but by various means, Einstein indicated that he did not want him to stay at the trailer merely because the strip hotels were so prejudiced and short-sighted as to refuse to allow well-behaved genius dogs into the casinos and showrooms. Wednesday morning, Travis dressed in a tuxedo, and Nora wore a simple calf-length white dress with spare lace trim at the cuffs and neckline, with Einstein between them. They drove to the... Nice one. They drove to their wedding in the pickup, leaving the unhitched Airstream at the campground. The non-denominational commercial chapel was the furnace place Travis had ever seen, for the design was earnestly romantic, solemn, and tacky all at the same time. Nora thought it was hilarious too, and upon entering, they had trouble suppressing their laughter. The chapel was tucked in among neon-dripping, glitzy, high-rise hotels on Las Vegas Boulevard South. It was only the size of a one-story house, pale pink stucco with white doors. Engraved in brass above the doors was the legend, Ye shall go two by two. Instead of depicting religious images, the stained glass windows were aglow with garishly rendered scenes from famous love stories, including Romeo and Juliet, Abelard, and Moccasin and Nicolette, Gone with the Wind, Casablanca, and unbelievably, I Love Lucy and Ozzie and Harriet. Curiously, curiously, the tackiness did not deflate their buoyant mood. Nothing would diminish the stay. Even the outrageous chapel was to be prized, remembered in every gaudy detail, to be vividly recalled over the years, and always to be recalled fondly because it was their chapel on their day and therefore special in its own strange way. Dogs were not ordinarily admitted, but Travis had generally tipped the entire staff in advance to ensure that Einstein would not only be allowed inside, but would be made to feel as welcome as anyone. The minister, the Reverend Don Dupree, please call me Reverend Dan, was a florid-faced, pot-bellied fellow, a strenuous smiler and glad hander who looked like a stereotypical used car salesman. He was flanked by two paid witnesses, his wife and her sister, who were wearing bright summery dresses for the occasion. Travis took his place at the front of the chapel. The woman organist struck up the wedding march. Nora had expressed a deep desire to actually walk down the aisle and meet Travis rather than just begin the ceremony at the altar railing. Furthermore, she wanted to be given away as other brides were. That should have been her father's singular honor, of course, but she had no father, nor was anyone else at hand who would be a likely candidate for the job. And at first it seemed that she would have to make the walk alone or on the arm of a stranger. But in the pickup on the way to the ceremony, she had realized that Einstein was available, and she had decided that no one in the world was more suited to accompany her down the aisle than the dog. Now, as the organist played, Nora into the back of the nave with with the dog at her side. Einstein was acutely aware of the great honor of escorting her, and he walked with all the pride and dignity he could muster. His head held high, his slow steps timed to hers. No one seemed disturbed or even surprised that a dog was giving Nora away. This was, after all, Las Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. That's funny. Never mind. She's one of the loveliest brides I've ever seen, Reverend Dan's wife whispered to Travis, and he sensed that she was sincere, and she did not routinely bestow that compliment. The photographer's flash blinked repeatedly, but Travis was too involved with the sight of Nora to be bothered by the strobe. Faces full of roses and carnations filled with small nave with their perfume, and 100 candles flickered softly, some in clear glass votive cups and others on brass candelabras. By the time Nora arrived at his side, Travis was oblivious of the tacky decor. His love was an architect that entirely remade the reality of the chapel, transforming it into a cathedral as grand as any in the world. The ceremony was brief and unexpectedly dignified. Travis and Nora exchanged vows, then rings. Tears full of reflected moment while her tears should blur his vision, then realized that he too Sorry. I'm gonna read that again. Vases full of roses and carnations fill the small nave with their perfume, and 100 candles flicker softly, some in clear glass, votive cups, and others on brass candelabras. By the time Nora arrived at his side, Travis was oblivious of the tacky decor. His love was an architect that entirely remade the reality of the chapel, transforming it into a cathedral as grand as any in the world. The ceremony was brief and unexpectedly dignified. Travis and Nora exchanged vows, then rings. Tears full of reflected candlelight shimmered in her eyes, and Travis wondered for a moment why her tears should blur his vision, then realized that he too was on the verge of tears. A burst of dramatic organ music accompanied their first kiss as man and wife, and it was the sweetest kiss he had ever known. Reverend Dan popped the Dom Perrigan and, at Travis's direction, poured a glass for everyone, the organist included. A saucer was found for Einstein, slurping noisily. The retriever joined in their toast to life, happiness, and love eternal. Einstein spent the afternoon in the forward end of the trailer in the living room reading. Travis and Nora spent the afternoon at the other end of the trailer in bed. After closing the bedroom door, Travis put a second bottle of Dom Perignon in an ice bucket and loaded a compact disc player with four albums of George Winston's most mellow piano music. Nora drew down the blind at the only window and switched on a small lamp with gold cloth shade. The soft amber light lent the room an aura rather like that of a place in a dream. For a while they lay on the bed, talking, laughing, touching, kissing, then talking less and kissing more. Gradually, Travis undressed her. He never before even seen her unclothed, and he found her even more lovely and more exquisitely proportioned than he had imagined. Her slender throat, the delicacy of her shoulders, the fullness of her breasts, the concavity of her belly, the flare of her hips, the round sauciness of her buttocks, the long, smooth, supple sleekness of her legs. Every line and angle and curve excited him, but also filled him with great tenderness. After he undressed himself, he patiently and gently introduced her to the art of love, with a profound desire to please and with full awareness that everything was new to her. He showed Nora, sometimes not without delicious teasing, all the sensations that his tongue, fingers, and manhood could engender in her. He was prepared to find her hesitant, embarrassed, even fearful, because her first 30 years of life had not prepared her for this degree of intimacy. But she harbored no trace of frigidity. No. But she harbored no trace of frigidity, and was eager to engage in any act that might pleasure either or both of them. Her soft cries and breathless murmurs of excitement delighted him. Each time that she sighed climatically and surrendered to a shudder of ecstasy, Travis became more aroused until he was of a size and firmness that he had never attained before, until his need was almost painful. When at last he let his warm seed flower within her, he buried his face in her throat and called her name and told her that he loved her, told her again and again, and the moment of release seemed so long that he half thought time had stopped or that he had tapped an inexplicable well that could never be exhausted. With consummation achieved, they held each other for a long time, silent, not needing to talk. They listened to music, and in a while, they finally spoke of what they felt, both physically and emotionally. They drank champagne, and in time, they made love again and again. Although the constant shadow of certain death looms over every, although the constant shadow of certain death looms over every day, the pleasures and joys of life can be so fine and deeply affecting that the heart is merely stilled by astonishment. From Vegas, they hauled the airstream north on Route 95. From Vegas, they hauled the airstream north on Route 95 across the immense Nevada barrens. 2 days later, on Friday, August 13th, they reached Lake Tahoe and connected the trailer to the electric and water lines at an RV campsite on the California side of the border. Nora was not quite as easily overwhelmed by each new scenic vista and novel experience as she had been. However, Lake Tahoe was so stunningly beautiful that it filled her with childlike wonder again. 22 miles long and 12 miles wide, with the Sierra Nevadas on its western flank and clearest body of water in the world, a shimmering jewel in 100 amazingly indecent, oh, iridescent shades of blue and green. For 6 days, Nora and Travis and Einstein hiked in the Eldorado, Tahoe, and Toyabe National Forest, vast primeval tracts of pine, spruce, and fir. They fir, F-I-R, fir. They rented a boat and went on the lake, exploring paradisiacal coves and graceful bays. They went sunning and swimming, and Einstein took to the water with the enthusiasm indigenous to his breed. Sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the late afternoon, more often at night, Nora and Travis made love. She was surprised by her carnal appetite. She could not get enough of him. I love your mind and your heart, she told him, but God help me, I love your body almost as much. Am I depraved? Good heavens, no. You're just a young, healthy woman. In fact, given the life you've led, you're emotionally healthier than you've any right to be. Really, Nora, you staggered me. Dang, can't be that good. I like to straddle you instead. Maybe you are depraved. What does straddle even mean? What that mean? just sitting on his lap. Oh. I guess. Maybe you are depraved. What is depraved like? Horny? Perverted, like horny. Ah, he said and laughed. Early on the serenely blue morning of Friday the 20th, they left Tahoe and Tahoe, 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 Tahoe. Two pronouns. I feel like I'm saying it wrong. Tahoe.
Tahoe.
Tahoe. Okay. They left Tahoe and drove across the state to the Monterey Peninsula. There, where the continental shelf met the sea, the natural beauty was, if possible, even greater than that at Tahoe. And they stayed 4 days, leaving for home on the afternoon of Wednesday, August 25. Throughout their trip, the joy of matrimony was all-consuming that the miracle of Einstein's human-like intelligence did not occupy their thoughts as much as previously. But Einstein reminded them of his unique nature when they drew near to Santa Barbara late that afternoon, 40 or 50 miles from home. He grew restless. He shifted repeatedly on the seat between Nora and Travis, sat up for a minute, then laid his head on Nora's lap, then sat up again. He began to whimper strangely. By the time they were 10 miles from home, he was shivering. "What's wrong with you, Furface?" she asked. With his expressive brown eyes, Einstein tried hard to convey a complex and important message, but she could not understand him. Half an hour before dusk, when they reached the city and departed the freeway for service streets, Einstein began alternately to whine and growl low in his throat. "What's wrong with him?" Nora asked. Frowning, Travis said, "I don't know." As they pulled into the driveway of Travis's rented house and parked in the shade of the date palm, the retriever began to bark. Prediction: the outsider's on his way. He had never barked in the truck, not once on their long journey. It was ear-splitting in that confined space, but he would not stop. When they got out of the truck, Einstein bolted past them, positioned himself between them and the house, and continued barking. Nora moved along the walkway toward the front door, and Einstein darted at her, snarling. He seized one leg of her jeans and tried to pull her off balance. She managed to stay on her feet, and when she retreated to the bird bath, he let go of her. "What's gotten into him?" she asked Travis. Staring thoughtfully at the house, Travis said, "He was like this in the woods that first day when he didn't want me to follow the dark trail." Nora tried to coax the dog closer in order to pet him, but Einstein would not be coaxed. When Travis tested the dog by approaching the house, Einstein snarled and forced him to retreat. "Wait here," Travis told Nora. He walked to the airstream in the driveway and went inside. Einstein trotted back and forth in front of the house, locking up at the door and windows. No. Einstein trotted back and forth in front of the house, looking up at the door and windows, growling and whining. As the sun rolled down, the western sky kissed the surface of the sea. The residential street was quiet, peaceful, ordinary in every respect. Yet Nora felt a wrongness in the air. A warm wind whispers from the palm and eucalyptus and ficus trees, sounds that might have been pleasant any other day, but which now seemed sinister. In the lengthening shadows and the last orange and purple light of the day, she also perceived an indefinable menace, except for the dog's behavior. She had no reason to think that danger was near hand. Her uneasiness was not intellectual but instinctual. When Travis returned from the trailer, he was carrying a large revolver. It had been in the bedroom drawer, unloaded throughout their honeymoon trip. Now, Travis finished inserting cartridges into the chambers and snapped the cylinder shut. Is that necessary? She asked worriedly. Something was in the woods that day, Travis said, and though I never actually saw it, well, it put the hair up on the back of my neck. Yeah, I think the gun might be necessary. Her own reaction to the whispering trees and afternoon shadows gave her a hint of what Travis must have felt in the woods, and she had to admit that the gun made her feel at least slightly better. Einstein had stopped pacing and had taken up his guard position at the walkway again, bearing their approach to the house. What, so the outsider is inside waiting for them? To the retriever, Travis said. Is someone inside? A quick wag of the tail. Yes. Man from the lab, one bark, no. The other experimental animal you told us about? Yes. The thing that was in the woods? Yes. All right, I'm going in there. No. Yes, Travis insisted. It's my house, and we're not going to run from this, whatever the hell it is. Nora remembered the magazine photograph of the movie monster to which Einstein had reacted so strongly. She did not believe anything was remotely like that creature could act. She did not believe anything even remotely like that creature could actually exist. She believed that Einstein was exaggerating or that they had misunderstood what he had been trying to tell them about the photo. Nevertheless, she suddenly wished they had not only the revolver but a shotgun. This is a .357 Magnum, Travis told the dog, and one shot, even if it hits an arm or a leg, will knock down the biggest, meanest man and keep him down. He'll feel as if he's been hit by a cannonball. I've taken firearms training from the best, and I've done regular target practice over the years to keep my edge. I really know what I'm doing, and I'll be able to handle myself in there. Besides, we can't just call the cops, can we? Because whatever they find in there is going to raise eyebrows, lead to a lot of questions, and sooner or later, they'll have you back in that damn lab again. Einstein was clearly unhappy with Travis's determination, but the dog padded up the front steps to the stoop and looked back as if to say, all right, okay, I'm not letting you go in there alone. Nora wanted to go in with him, but Travis was adamant that she remain in the front yard. She reluctantly admitted that since she lacked both a weapon and the skill to use it, there was nothing she could do to help, that she would most likely only get in the way. Holding the revolver at his side, Travis joined Einstein on the stoop and inserted his key on the door. Travis disengaged the lock, pocketed the key, and pushed the door inward, covering the room beyond with the .357. Warily, he stepped across the threshold and Einstein entered his side. The house was silent, as it should have been, but the air reeked of a bad smell that did not belong. Einstein growled softly, lit off the fast-fading sunlight into the house through the windows, many of which were partly or entirely covered with drapes, but it was bright enough for Travis to see that the sofa's upholstery was slashed, shredded from padding spilled onto the floor. A wooden magazine rack had been hammered to pieces against the wall, gouging holes in the plasterboard. The TV screen had been smashed in with the floor lamp, which still protruded from the set. Books had been taken off the shelves, torn apart, and scattered across the living room. In spite of the breeze blowing in through the door, the stench seemed to be getting worse. Travis flicked the wall switch. A corner lamp came on, It did not shed much light, just enough to reveal more details of the rubble. Looks like somebody went through here with the chainsaw and then a power more, he thought. The house remained silent. Leaving the door open behind him, he took a couple of steps into the room, and the crumpled pages of the ruined books crunched crisply underfoot. He noticed dark, rusty stains on some of the paper and on the bone-white foam padding, and suddenly he stopped, realizing the stains were blood. A moment later, he spotted the corpse. It was that of a big man, lying on his side on the floor near the sofa, half covered by gore-smeared book pages, bookboards, and dust jackets. Einstein's growling grew louder, meaner, moving closer to the body, which was just a few feet from the dining room archway. Travis saw that it was his landlord, Ted Hockney. Beside him was his craftsman toolbox. Ted had a key to the house, and Travis had no objections to his entering at any time to make repairs. Lately, there had been a number of repairs required, including a leaky faucet and a broken dishwasher. Evidently, Ted had walked down the block from his own house and entered with the intention of fixing something. Now Ted was broken too and beyond repair. Because of the ripe stink, Travis first thought the man must have been killed at least a week ago, but on closer inspection, the corpse proved to be neither bloated with the gas of decomposition nor marked by any signs of decay, so it could not have been there for very long, perhaps only a day, perhaps less. The hideous stench had two other sources. For one thing, the landlord had been disemboweled. Furthermore, his killer had apparently defecated and urinated on and around the body. Ted Hockney's eyes were gone. Yup, it's the outsider. Travis felt sick, and not only because he had liked Ted. He would have been sickened by such insane violence regardless of who the dead man had been. A death like this left the victim no dignity whatsoever and somehow diminished the entire human race. Einstein's low growling gave way to ugly snarling, punctuated with hard, sharp barks. With a nervous twitch and the sudden hammering of his heart, Travis turned from the corpse and saw that the retriever was facing into the nearby dining room. The shadows were deep in there because the drapes were drawn shut over both windows, and only a thin gray light passed through from the kitchen beyond. "Go, get out, leave," an inner voice told him, but he did not turn and run because he had never run away from anything in his life. Well, all right, that was not quite true. He had virtually run away from life itself these past few years when he had let despair get the best of him. His descent into isolation had been the ultimate cowardice. However, that was behind him. He was a new man, transformed by Einstein and Nora, and he was not going to run again. Damned if he was. Einstein went rigid. He arched his back, thrust his head down and forward, and barked so furiously that saliva flew from his mouth. Travis took a step toward the dining room arch. The retriever stayed at Travis's side, barking more viciously, holding the revolver in front of him, trying to take confidence from the powerful weapon. Travis eased forward another step, treading cautiously in the treacherous rubble. He was only 2 or 3 steps from the archway. He squinted into the gloomy dining room. Einstein's barking resounded through the house until it seemed as if a whole pack of dogs must be loose in the place. Travis took one more step, then saw something move in the shadowy dining room. He froze. Nothing moved. Had it been a phantom of the mind? Beyond the arch, layered shadows hung like gray and black crepe. He wasn't sure if he had seen movement or merely imagined it. Back off. Get out now, that inner voice said. In the defiance of it, Travis raised one foot, intending to step into the archway. The thing in the dining room moved again. This time, there was no doubt of his presence because it rushed out of the deepest darkness at the far side of that chamber, vaulted into the dining room table, and came straight at Travis, emitting a blood-freezing shriek. He saw lantern eyes in the gloom and a nearly man-sized figure that, in spite of the poor light, gave an impression of deformity. Then the thing was coming off the table, straight at him. Einstein charged forward to engage it, but Travis tried to step back and gain an extra second in which to squeeze off a shot. As he pulled the trigger, he slipped on the ruined books that littered the floor and fell backward. The revolver roared, but Travis knew he had missed and had fired into the ceiling. For an instant, as Einstein scrambled toward the adversary, Travis saw the lantern-eyed thing more clearly, saw it work alligator jaws and crack open an impossibly wide mouth in a lumpish face, revealing wickedly hooked teeth. Einstein, no! He shouted, for he knew the dog. Oh no, I'm getting entertained. For he knew the dog. All right, 10 more minutes. It's crazy that I did not feel like reading, but now I'm hooked into the reading. Can you imagine that? See, it's all mental. At the end of the day, it's all mental. I'm actually loving this. All right, 10 more minutes. Actually, 15. Einstein, no, he shouted, for he knew the dog would be torn to pieces in any confrontation with this hellish creature, and he fired again twice, wildly from his position on the floor. His cry and the shots not only brought Einstein to a halt, but gave the enemy second thoughts about going up against the armed man. The thing turned. It was quick, far quicker than a cat, and crossed the unlighted dining room to the kitchen doorway. For a moment, he saw it silhouetted in the murky light from the kitchen, and he had the impression of something that had never been meant to stand erect but was standing erect anyway. Something with a misshapen head twice as large as it ought to have been, a hunched back, arms too long and terminating in claws like the tines of a garden rake. He fired again and came closer to the mark. The bullet tore out a clunk of the doorframe. With a shriek, the beast disappeared into the kitchen. What in the name of God was it? Where had it come from? Had it really escaped from the same lab that had produced Einstein? But how had they made this monstrosity, and why? Why? He was a well-read man. In fact, for the last few years, most of his time was devoted to books, so possibilities began to occur to him. Recombinant DNA research was foremost among them. Einstein stood in the middle of the dining room, barking, facing the doorway where the thing had vanished. Lurching to his feet in the living room, Travis called the dog back to his side, and Einstein returned quickly. Eagerly, he searched the dog, listened intently. He heard Nora frantically calling his name from the yard out front, but he heard nothing in the kitchen. For Nora's benefit, he shouted, "I'm okay. I'm all right. Stay out there." Einstein was shivering. Travis could hear the loud two-part thudding of his own heart, and he could almost hear the sweat trickling down his face and down the small of his back, but he could hear nothing whatsoever to pinpoint that escapee from a nightmare. He did not think it had gone out the back door into the rear yard. For one thing, he figured the creature did not want to be seen by a lot of people and, therefore, only went outside at night, traveled exclusively in the dark, when it could slip even into in the dark when it could slip even into a fair-sized town like Santa Barbara without being spotted. The day was still the day was still light enough to make the thing leery of the outdoors. Furthermore, Travis could sense his presence nearby, the way he might sense that someone was staring at him behind his back, the way he might sense an oncoming thunderstorm on a humid day with a lowering sky. It was out there, all right, waiting in the kitchen, ready and waiting. Cautiously, Travis returned into the archway and stepped into the half dark dining room. Einstein stayed close at his side, neither whining nor growling nor barking. The dog seemed to realize that Travis needed complete silence in order to hear any sound the beast might make. Travis took 2 more steps ahead. Through the kitchen door, he could see a corner of the table, the sink, part of a counter, half of the dishwasher. The setting sun was at the other end of the house, and the light in the kitchen was dim, gray, so their adversary would not cast a revealing shadow. It might be waiting on either side of the door, or it might have climbed into the counters from which it could launch itself down at him when he entered the room, trying to trick the creature, hoping that it would react without hesitation to the first sign of movement. In the doorway, Travis tucked the revolver under his belt, quietly picked up one of the dining room chairs, eased to within 6 feet of the kitchen, and pitched the chair through the open door. He snatched the revolver out of his waistband and, as the chair sailed into the kitchen, assumed a shooter's stance. The chair... Alright, bro, I'll leave it right there. Save it for tomorrow morning or afternoon. Wow, that was a good read. Oh, wow. Alright, so a quick summary of what I read. Travis and Nora finally got married in Vegas. Einstein walked Nora down the aisle because Nora had no father to walk her down. So the best option there was Einstein, because Einstein helped her. No, let me rephrase that. Because Einstein was one of the essential creatures or being or people that helped her find herself, help her be better. So Einstein was the best option there. Both. So that was nice. So both Nora and Travis got married, and they finally made love. Nora's a freak. She can't get enough of Travis because they're having a lot of sex, and since it was her first time doing it with Travis, her first time ever with Travis, she could not get enough of it. So she craved a lot of sex. So they were getting freaky after they got married. So flash ahead to when the little family got back to their home. Once they were getting closer and closer back home, Einstein had a bad feeling. He started growling. He started whining, barking, because Einstein knew something was wrong. So when they got to the house, Einstein jumped out of the car I guess the RV, and started growling hard, trying to keep Nora and Travis from coming in the house. Travis was used to Einstein acting that way, and he connected it. He did a good job by connecting what was happening to how they first met. Once he made that connection, he already knew what was going on, so he went and got his gun, and both Einstein and him got into the house and tried to see what was going on. To their surprise, Travis found his landlord laying down, decapitated, eyes torn out, body all ruined, and he started, and also his house torn up, sofas ruined, just a mess. Then he went and checked out what was going on. Then the outsider rushed out of nowhere. Travis trying to get in position to shoot it. He fell backward into the messy house and shot at the ceiling with Einstein trying to protect him. It scared the outsider a little bit, because the gunshots were loud, I guess. And good thing was that Nora was outside, because if she had went inside to check out what was going on with Travis and Einstein, then she would have been done for. So that happened. The outsider and Einstein are finally back together again. So I left off where they're still going at it. Once the outsider heard the gunshots, he ran into the kitchen. So now it's finding the outsider again because it's disappeared. It's scary. It's sneaky. So now Travis and Einstein are looking for it, and it's a mystery chase now. But my next prediction is the NSA people are going to find the location of the outsider, and it's gonna lead them to finding Travis as well and Einstein. So, and it's gonna cause a whole big commotion, and the NSA people are gonna be killed. They're gonna be by the outsider, and the only remaining people are gonna be the outsider, Einstein, and Travis. I think Nora is also gonna get, but I hope not. That's just my prediction. But yeah, that's the end of my reading. That was a good read. That was a freaking good read. And mind you, I did not feel like reading, but I forced myself. So that's good mental. But that's good mental forcing by me, I guess. Discipline or mental forcing is definitely not discipline, because if it was discipline, I could have read earlier in the day, but just pushing through. Yeah, perseverance, I guess, but good reading.